Virgo Ascendants, it's Nicole from Outer Inner Space, and in this video we're going to be talking about your chart ruler and some ideas I've received which are relative to timing and finding your authentic frequency. Because the way I see it is your ascendant sign sets up your natal chart orientation, and when you tune into the qualities of your chart ruler, which for you guys is Mercury, then you can tune into what I see as this baseline frequency, this authentic vibration, because with Mercury as the chart ruler, it's like the eyes through which you see the world. And when you tune into the qualities of Mercury and you learn how you can temper some of the qualities and work with it on a holistic level, then you can come back to this place of equilibrium and inner harmony, and that helps activate a lot of your gifts, and it helps emphasize your spiritual nature in a sense. Because all the placements have a different energetic vibration, but the chart ruler is this undertone or this bass tone, or at least that's how I see it. So different aspects are going to be highlighted at different times according to transits and just your soul evolution. So just being aware of this can really help you understand your own energy and your chart a little bit more, and that helps with things like timing and cadence and just differentiating your energy from other people too. The notes that you see here in this video you can grab from my website if you want to, and I hope you find some value in this video. So the first thing I would say would be to look to where Mercury is in your natal chart as well, because that's going to add an extra level to the story. So after you've listened to these ideas, it's worth having a look at your natal Mercury and the sign and the house that it's in, because then you can extrapolate on them and make these ideas more personal to you. So as a Virgo Ascendant and with Mercury as your chart ruler, this is all about perception and vision and your skills in observation and communication. I find Virgo to be a very observant sign, and that comes from that Mercury influence where there's so many details to take in, and because your mind works so quickly, then you can, and that can be both a blessing and a curse, in the sense that there's a lot of information input coming at you all the time, and processing this, it does take a lot of your energy. And so understanding how the mind works is a really beneficial thing for a Mercury ruled person, because when you understand that the mind has these different brain waves, and learning how to temper them can really help you come out of places where you're overanalyzing or in a high stress state, or you're just, constantly ruminating on the same thing again and again, and creating that white space. So dropping from higher beta waves, which is that really fast mental processing, which is what's happening in the neocortex at the front of the mind, in the frontal lobe, where all of our immediate perceptions are stored and our memories are stored, things of this nature, and dropping into alpha waves, which is more in the limbic brain, then doing that tempering can really help you sort of step out any stressful states or any feeling of static or confusion, and just give yourself the white space that's required to regulate your energy and find those slower waves. And when you're in those slower waves, then the more divine inspiration and those new ideas and the solutions can actually come through, because you're not just filtering through what you've already experienced and what you've already done, but you're opening up to that Uranian energy, which is the higher octave of Mercury, and from that place, that more inspired idea and those really breakthrough moments can happen. And so it's just about redefining the way we think and redefining the concept of our thought as well, because to me, I believe that that thought is not just limited to the mind. Your body as an energetic field is a mind. It's picking up ideas, and especially for you guys being so detail oriented and being able to process so much so quickly, your energetic field is sucking in information all the time. But until you take the time to regulate those brain waves and bring your energetic frequency into a more tempered pace, and that comes from controlling your energy, doing things like breath work and body work to tend to your vibe, because with Mercury it's like a very fast vibe, then you can differentiate, the ideas that you actually do want to take on, and not take on things that is just going to waste your energy and waste your time, because you have really beautiful things to achieve here in this world to communicate, to act as a messenger in many ways. And, refining your energy by knowing your energy can really help you tend to your field in that sense. As a Virgo Ascendant, the element is mutable earth, so that's like changeable foundations. So you're kind of here to set this new wave in how people think and people operate and how people communicate. And you might have a sense of this already, or maybe not, but the detail of perception and just the whole scope of seeing the world in a very unique way is like your superpower. And when we change our perceptions and change the way we think, then our outer world changes, and that's mutable earth. So it's a really incredible gift to be a Virgo Ascendant, because you're like the change makers in a sense, and you can really alter reality. But it comes through that inner work of honoring that as a gift and working with the mind and your energy field. And as a Virgo Ascendant as well, that refining detail is something that you're very skilled and great at. So learning about brainwave variability and integrating that and challenging fixed ideas and challenging those patterns that are going on in the neocortex and realizing that the mind is mutable, then you kind of clear the slate, and from that point you can go anywhere. But in order to do that, you kind of need to create that white space and the grace around you. Because of your incredible powers of perception, you're likely to be very hard on yourself for like, why didn't I see this? Why didn't I change that? Why didn't I say this? Why didn't I go in this direction? And that's really unhelpful and it's just not productive, really. So creating that space, that grace around you where you can be in your energetic field. Like if you think of the opposite of Virgo being Pisces, that's like, the space around you and the interconnectedness of you and other people. But until you kind of remove yourself and be the hermit and come into your own space and tend to your own energy, then you kind of have those better ideas of how to interact or how to be of service or how to direct your energy in a more productive way. And it's perfectly fine to go in the wrong direction and try different things and learn from it. Fall down 7 times, get up 8, right? That's mutable earth. So if you can create that grace, if you can like synthesize the axis of that Pisces, forgiveness and just absolving the high frequency thought into a sense of oneness and a sense of peace and a sense of you are here for a reason and your soul knows what to do, but until you kind of calm the brainwaves and really sense your importance here, even if you feel small or like you can't do everything that you want to do because the energy of Mercury is so fast, it's like I have all these options. But believe me, like that'll become clear and you'll know where to go when you do give yourself that time to expand in your energy field and feel what you're feeling and just ground, basically, because that's the earth detail of Virgo, is that you have this incredible connection to the natural world and to the cycles, and it's just about seeing how there is a time for everything. And it all doesn't have to be done today. Like the day you plant the seed is not the day you reap the fruit, right? So another way to really ground your energy is to be out in nature and commune with it. I think that you would find that you can get a lot of messages from plants and from nature and from animals as well. But this isn't stuff that happens with logic. And it's kind of about redefining the idea of Mercury and logic intertwined. It's true, it is, but it kind of goes beyond that, because you can receive messages through your body. If you think of 6th house energy, Virgo energy, as being, your health and your physical body and purifying the body, and being in nature can really help with that, like resetting the energy field and recalibrating yourself and just looking around and noticing the details and the color and all these beautiful natural elements and really just being present in that is what will slow your mind down. And when you do that, it kind of is taking a nap in many ways. Like it recalibrates you, and then you open up to all these other parts of your brain where, like the occipital lobe at the back, which is in charge of visual processing. All this imagery can come to mind. You can get impressions from animals or plants, or it's really quite beautiful, the capabilities of what you can do and what you can perceive. But it kind of comes again with that grace and not being too hard on yourself and not being too fast in the world. And with Virgo energy as well, there's a lot to do with healing. Some astrologers say that the ruler of Virgo is also Chiron, and with that, that's about kind of knowing your wounds and understanding that, and also transmuting that and creating like new cellular structures by applying a different perception to how you're thinking about those kinds of things. Because we're all here on a soul journey, and we're all here and we're all inevitably going to face these issues, wounds, heartbreak, all these kinds of things which kind of floor us in many ways. But everything is about perception, and it is about creating that new reality where we kind of, and I think we're heading there, but where we kind of see that it's nothing that's happening to us, or it's nothing to do with being a victim. It's about soul evolution and what we're here to learn, and the lessons that we're here to experience, so that we can go beyond those patterns, those ingrained patterns and those established patterns, and become better and just redefine our DNA so that we're not passing on that to our children and imprinting them with the same patterns. So Virgo energy has a lot to do with transmuting it, but that all comes from perception and doing the practices like being in nature and tempering the brain waves and doing body work to make those shifts, to make that mutable. Because energy is always moving, like it's never stuck. And so it's only the perception that we're stuck. So doing body work as a Virgo Ascendant is really beautiful. And I think this is something that's going to become really significant in the years to come, in the sense that when we're young and we don't know how to process emotions, or we're not taught that, even now, if we're not aware of the fact that we can process our emotions and not just like bottle them in, that energy gets stored in our body, and it's like memory that gets stored in different parts of our body. And over time, as these energies are continually suppressed, it attracts more cells to that. It's, law of attraction, but on like a atomic level, or a cellular level. But the idea here is that when you do body work, massage, self-massage, acupuncture, kinesiology, seeing an aware chiro or an osteopath, and just having that energy circulating, the patterns basically which are established, disrupted through touch and through that tactile therapy, it becomes a detail of your body's consciousness kind of takes over, and you don't really have to think about the details of the trauma or of the pain or of anything like that, but the body's consciousness takes over, and so you can diffuse blockages that way and tend to your energy field that way and purify your body in that way. And that becomes really beautiful, because, and then as long as afterwards you kind of flush out the energy with a lot of water and don't put anything toxic in your body in the hours and day at least following that kind of work, then that breaks up those established patterns. Because like I said before, all this stuff isn't just in the mind, like all the stuff that we get stuck on isn't just in the mind, it's in the body, it's in our entire energetic being. But doing things like body work, that sixth house purification energy, and that Chiron energy of tending to those wounds, then we become these really open channels, and this divine inspiration can kind of come through us, because when you think about it, we are more space than matter. Like there's more space in us than there are atoms, basically. They need something to move around in that space. And so when we do clear out these blocks, we create these channels, and then, our energy field becomes purified, and then our perception becomes super intense. Like it becomes so much more potent and effective, and, you run into less resistance mentally, and you access those Uranian waves more. And you don't necessarily need a professional to help you with that. You can do your own body work by doing self-massage or mirror work, where you just kind of basically get naked and into your purest form, and just know it's helpful to do this like in the sun, so that you can see on the body where you're holding blocks, and doing breath work to clear that out. And that's another way to move the energy, is just like bringing breath there. And you can break up, like it's definitely a process, but you can start to clear those channels by doing that body work yourself. When you think about the Virgo and Pisces axis, where Virgo is very reality oriented and Pisces is imaginative and a bit more etheric, it's important to understand that you are both of those. It's on the same axis, so it's just different levels of the spectrum, but you have both qualities within you. So when you can come out of those high beta waves where it is very focused on what you see and what's immediately in front of you, but falling back into those alpha and theta waves to the faculties of creativity and imagination and not really relying on logic as much, then you kind of are giving yourself the headspace to create those new neural pathways, and then you're activating more of the mind and you're activating more knowledge from your subconscious and all these genetic imprints that are really valuable to you that can't get activated when we're too much, like when our energy field is in this static state, which is kind of like Mercury, you know, like it's very, very quick. But when you do that kind of stuff, then, like I said before, you know, your direction becomes more refined, your perception becomes more refined, and you kind of don't waste energy on things that really aren't feeding you. And then, you know, you can apply that in the same way as taking note of the dreams and stuff that you have, like that Pisces element of your dreams and what's happening in the subconscious, and then seeing how that is communicating to you, but in that different perception, like in those feelings and in that imaginative way. And just going back again to that element of having that earth, that mutable earth element, is developing that affinity with nature and the cycles of nature, and noting how a palm tree isn't going to grow at the same rate as a rose bush. And when you kind of see that every individual is this combination of all these different energetic vibrations, and looking at your natal chart, you can kind of see how individualized we all are. And you yourself have this very unique timeline. And while social constructs in the 3D world will tell you that you're supposed to be at this certain place by this certain time, or you're supposed to think in this way, or have things finished by then, or it doesn't give space for the individual process. And so having that affinity with nature and noting that you are an organic plant in the collective essentially, and you have your own timing, then that can really help with tempering any levels of stress or anxiety that you're not where you're supposed to be. Just pulling that energy back into you and into your center, and noting that you are exactly where you're supposed to be and you're exactly right on time, and all the things that you want to achieve will be achieved on time. But it comes again to giving yourself the grace and creating kind of like an energy field around you where you're not influenced by all the information coming to you, and you are more selective and more intentional with your thought and with your action and with your process. Because then when you do that, all that creative energy that you have and all your perception and all that great knowledge and wisdom that you guys have and all those healing aspects of you just become part of your energy field. And then you kind of can communicate with people in this energetic sense without really needing to spend your energy as much on talking or things of this nature, because you're just this purified field, and that does the talking for you, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it's about understanding that everyone has their own cycle and has their own process, and any level of comparison is just wasted time because they're on a different timeline. And just as a side note, if you're a woman and you're interested in learning about your cycles and the interconnectedness of periods, brainwaves, and astrology, I've created this really lovely resource that brings more light to the natural flow that's available to you. If that's of interest to you, there's a link below. And the last thing I'll leave you with, Virgo Ascendant, is the idea of changeable earth, and just going to environments, preferably natural environments that are new to you, can really also bring an element of refining your energy field because of that need for new information and new stimuli. And that can happen just from like being in a new space energetically. That can really help when you're feeling kind of stuck. Just break the cycles and change the atmosphere, and get your bare feet on the ground and touch a tree and feel the pulse and get that sense of connectedness with those natural elements. It can really bring you back down to earth if ever you are stuck in your head or overthinking, or just feeling like, you know, you're not on time. Believe me, you are on time. It's just a matter of perception, as I said before. So I'll leave this here, Virgo Ascendant, and I hope you found some value in this. There are some links below if you're keen on more content on energy healing and self-healing. But thank you, and I wish you well. Take care.